So this is your first hunt. And you've come to the most dangerous planet in the universe.
Have you ever wondered if this game is rigged?
Guess we'll find out.
Hey, buddy. You're on Freebie.
Yeah! You better run! I got a grenade! Back at you.
And welcome to Talking About the Movies. Yes, I know, we have had a very erratic schedule over the last couple of weeks. My plea at the beginning of the year was to do one episode every week for the year, and I got all the way to September at least, so I guess I gotta give myself credit for that. But me thinking I can go all the way to the end of the year was maybe a little bit excessive overall, but nevertheless, I have been busy. There's been a lot of things going on, you know, of course the pit games overall, and just other things have been getting in the way for me doing my regular schedule of things. But we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We're still continuing my 20 years of covering the biggest new releases of the weekend, and we have that movie as well as the film from last weekend, which I was going to do in its own separate episode. But I figure, what the hell, I'll just do it in this one episode overall. So we got two films to look at today. Last week's big new release, Predator Badlands, and then this week's big new release, The Running Man. We'll get to The Running Man in a little bit here, but first let's delve into last weekend's #1 movie, and that was Predator Badlands. So in Predator Badlands, you have Dex, who's a young yachtja who escapes from his clan, crash landing on a hostile planet and must prove himself worthy of the hunt. Struggling to survive, he forms an unlikely alliance with Thea, a damaged Weyland-Yutani Corporation synthetic, so we're kind of bringing in both the Predator and the Alien world together in this. Not officially an Alien movie, but nevertheless, there we are, as they face off against a terrifying apex creature that challenges both human and Predator instincts for survival. So in terms of the Predator movies, the Predator's been given a lot better film treatment than the Alien has certainly had. There's been more bad Alien movies in the series than Predator films. I mean, Predator 1's really good. I like Predator 2 a lot. I like the chances that they took by bringing it into the city. In terms of, you know, Predators, I thought that was kind of good. The worst one overall, surprisingly, was the one with Shane Black involved in it. You know, you think if Shane Black's coming in to write and direct the Predator movie, you think that's going to be awesome. But as we saw with Iron Man 3, and I'm going to touch more on that in a couple weeks on Time About the Movies, but we could kind of tell that Shane Black probably should stay away from the blockbuster film in general. Just go back to what he does best with stuff like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys, because The Predator was one of the worst films of 2018 for a number of different reasons, mostly because it felt like there was way too much going on trying to figure out what to do with that film in general. But recently, the Predator series got a big boost thanks to the efforts of Dan Trachtenberg with what he did with Prey, which was a phenomenal movie, one of the best films of 2022. And I'm happy to report that this movie definitely continues that stretch of good films on a high note here, because Predator Badlands was a really good movie, and this is amazing considering a couple things. One, you have two, I won't say relative, one of them was not relatively unknown, but you have two people who are not big draws in terms of, not big box office draws. Like Elle Fanning, people know who she is, but nobody's going out to a movie to see just her in a movie. But, you know, it's good to see her again. It's good to see her that she actually is evolving as an actress. She really does knock it out of the park as Thea in this. But also, this other guy, Demetrius Schuster Kolomontagi, I think he is. He's a relative unknown. He's only done one other movie before this, and I just looked up before coming on here. Red, White, and Brass, which I guess is a movie from where he's from, New Zealand, because I've never heard of it before, but this is only his second film, and he knocks it out of the park as Dex in this. I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot, but, you know, his facial expressions alone, with the way with the mask that he has on, the Predator mask on, you know, it just works I wouldn't even say it's a mask, really. It's more like what the Predators are. But yeah, he makes that work. He doesn't really have to say a whole lot to get the indication of what's going on here and how you look at the characters as a whole. And I do like their chemistry together overall. But throughout the course of this movie, it's basically just the two of them in this film, with all these other elements coming into play later on here. And it's a lot of fun to watch in this movie in general. But the most intriguing thing I found out about this movie was the fact that it's a PG-13 movie, and we've talked about how you have an R-rated franchise that goes into PG-13 territory. More times than not, it doesn't work out very well. There's only been a couple of exceptions. Die Hard, the Live Free or Die Hard was actually pretty good, and The Longest Yard, is a great Burt Reynolds movie that was rated R back in the 70s, was made with Adam Sandler in 2005. Actually, one of the better remakes of recent memory, and that was PG-13 too. So with Predator Badlands, you look at this and you think to yourself, PG-13, there's no way this could be any good. But no, they actually managed to be just as violent and just as chaotic as they can because of the way they work around things in it. And I like the fact that they did that. I like the fact that they took chances with it and kept it within a PG-13 rating, and it's still made for a very fun film. You could definitely tell that Trachtenberg, while doing this, was getting a lot of inspiration from the other franchises around this, the other Predator movies, the Alien films. The fact that they're combined together in this, and it's really kind of not really something you'd pay attention to throughout this because you're watching everything else. But the fact that there's a lot, like, he makes the Predator in this seem like a villain turned into a hero, something similar to like a Terminator 2, for example. And I think that was maybe his biggest influence when he made this movie, because it definitely felt like that. You felt the Terminator 2 vibes watching this character in here, a character that from the beginning you're supposed to not like, as he's the villain, but you find out but they find a way to make this character likable, and you want to go ahead on their adventures overall here. The action overall is great. The visuals are very impressive overall. And it doesn't overstay its welcome either. It's under 2 hours long, which is a refreshing taste for a lot of us here. Because we get sick and tired of seeing movies that are over 2 hours long, with stuff that could have easily been padded out. They did a great job of keeping it down, contained to it's just a little over 90 minutes. It's only 107 minutes long, so it's not a long movie at all. And again, that's the power of this director as a whole. You got a director who understands the Predator series in general and has found ways to create new elements to it and new worlds around it that actually want to make us, the viewers, want to go ahead and see it. Kind of like what he did with Cloverfield, with 10 Cloverfield Lane, a movie that nobody even knew was a thing until the year began, but then 2 months later when it comes out, you watch it just like, wow, this guy actually did a pretty good job of expanding this world, even though technically it could work on its own solo Cloverfield film. The Predator, this movie could easily work on its own overall, and you could still have the little references to Alien and Predator. I honestly think that this did a better job of that than something like a Prometheus did, where it was trying to distance itself from Alien, but it really failed to kind of keep it in check, to keep it outside of the world of Alien, because you have to keep the references in there. I think this film did a better job of that in this sense overall. So, but overall, yeah, it's a really good movie, and in a year where you've had so many good horror movies in general, this isn't really a horror movie, it's mostly just a sci-fi action film, and it works. It's a film that works really, really well. It shows that Dan Trachtenberg clearly knows what he's doing when it comes to this series in general, and 20th Century Studios and Disney should just let him cook, let him do whatever the hell he wants, because he's going to deliver something great here, and at least right now he is. We'll see what happens as time goes on here, but I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. For a PG-13 movie in an R-rated series to be this badass and this awesome, I gotta give them a lot of points for that. I think they did a phenomenal job. So, Predator Badlands, I give it a good thumbs up. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was a good time overall. Definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch overall. So with that said, let's go ahead and we're not even going to go to a commercial break here. We're just going to go into the next review, and that is for Glenn Powell's The Running Man. So with The Running Man, you have Glenn Powell playing a man joining a game show in which contestants are allowed to go anywhere in the world or pursued by hunters hired to kill them. So this is, of course, based off of the Stephen King story of the same name, which was released in '82 and then made into a movie 5 years later with the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, The Running Man. And this film definitely is a very different version of The Running Man in general. It's the same setup overall. You've got, because in the '87 movie, it was about, a dystopic totalitarian future United States, where a state-controlled broadcaster airs a deadly game in which convicted criminals known as runners must survive pursuits by themed gladiatorial assistants called stalkers. The story follows Captain Ben Richards, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a framed police officer forced to compete on the show, who becomes an unlikely symbol of resistance against a corrupt government and its manipulative media machine. And that was a movie that was working because of the satirical jabs of the American media culture that was going on there, and especially works because of the performance of the villain played by Richard Dawson, who, keep in mind, was just 2 years off of coming off of Family Feud. And people forgot that this game show host was a good actor back in the day, working on shows like Hogan's Heroes, and he just kills it. He just knocks it out of the park as the villain in this. He was just so good in that film. And this movie definitely takes a more modern approach, specifically taking the concept of, I think the idea of this was, in general, was that, they replaced the idea of criminals going on this game show to kind of the new setting that we have now with IRL streamers, in real life streamers and all that, like, who's the guy? Ice Poseidon, I think it is. Ice Poseidon. People like him, Aiden Ross, Sneeko, just these guys that just go around just being complete assholes to people overall. Johnny Somali is another example of that. Yeah, I never really got into it per se. I get more into the exposés that people like 15 Minutes of Shame and a Tozy put out there. So it makes me realize that if this doesn't work out in whole, I never want to go ahead and do that type of stuff right there. Like, I don't even have a Twitch account per se. So I guess I'm thinking that's the idea they were going with here. And the interesting thing, and I do like the fact that they took a different approach to it and didn't just make a straightforward remake of the original. It's a nice, refreshing pace for a film, is for a time where we're just remaking and rebooting everything and just doing the same thing we do over and over again. But most notably, let's talk about Glen Powell in this, because I've badmouthed his works over the last couple of years. I've nothing against the actor as a whole. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I think his rise to stardom has really been one of the more interesting things in general, because keep in mind, this is the kid that started off in films like Spy Kids 3D Game Over and Fast Food Nation, and went on to, and slowly but surely worked his way up the echelon to become one of those big box office draws. Top Gun Maverick was Top Gun Maverick was the one that became what really established him as a star in general. But most of his movies he's done since then have been mostly bland and forgettable and just kind of bad, Devotion was kind of forgettable. I hated Anyone But You. I especially hated Twisters. Hitman, I heard it was actually really good. I did see it. What am I thinking? I did see it, and I do remember liking it. I just haven't seen it in a long time. That new show we just did, Chad Powers, surprisingly doesn't work as well as I think they were intending it to. And that was the show they were hyping that show up from the beginning of the year. Like, back when the NFL playoffs were going on, you would start seeing promos for the show in Chad Powers, just like, what show is this, and when is it coming? And we find out it's not coming until the fall, and then it finally arrives, and then it just doesn't live up to the promise that it had before. It has a good funny opening with the guys from ESPN College Game Day, college football, where it's the Rose Bowl and he makes the mistake and all that. But after that, it's just not worth it in the end. It's not really because of him. It's just the writing really isn't as strong as I feel like it could have been. It's been one of the major disappointments of the year, but this is probably the best thing I've seen Glen Powell in since Top Gun Maverick. He is great in this movie, and he has a good script to work around with here, with a script by Michael Bacall, who also gave us 21 Jump Street. And also this is written and directed by Edgar Wright, who, of course, is the guy that gave us such classic movies as the Cornetto trilogy, not Baby Driver, because I'm one of the people that don't like Baby Driver, but Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is really good. I like Last Night in Soho a lot. That was actually my second or third favorite movie of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But the only one I really didn't like of his was Baby Driver. That's the one that everyone really loves, But this is a really fun movie. And what's notable, but what's more important about this is that we've had a couple of really bad remakes based off of late 80s, early 90s action classics. Total Recall was a mess with Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale basically taking over the film because her husband was directing that film. And then you had RoboCop, which is an example of how not to make a PG-13 remake of an R-rated classic, and that didn't work out very well. This is the first one I've seen that I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was really good. I thought the action overall was really good. I liked the concept that they took with this. I liked that they took chances with it. And it's got an incredible cast to it. You have Glenn Powell, as I mentioned before, of course, William H. Macy, Lee Pace, Michael Cera, who surprisingly is very good in this, as not playing the typical Michael Cera role. Like, he plays kind of a badass in this. Jamie Lawson, Sean Hayes, Coleman Domingo, Josh Brolin. Coleman Domingo's playing the role played originally by Richard Dawson in here. And yeah, comparing the two, Coleman Domingo definitely is giving the better performance overall. But in terms of the fun performance, I love Richard Dawson in the original Running Man. I mean, that one is just going to be too hard to top. But not to say Coleman Domingo is bad in this movie. But I mean, they got a good cast involved in here. This is a really fun movie overall. This is a film that is just so over the top and so insane with it. But, I mean, you do expect a little bit more to it, mostly because it is Edgar Wright, and you know that this guy has an elaborate action film strategy style to him that he brought all the way back to his days with Shaun of the Dead and all. And it's not really there in this, but the stuff that does work with this works really well. There's a great scene that takes place in an apartment complex where it's all one shot. It looks like it's one shot, and you're just watching it go along for the ride. It's just kind of like, man, this is really cool stuff. I wish there was more of that in this movie, but for what we get in here, I think it's more than worthy enough as a good, fun action film. Are you going to see a masterpiece on the same level, something like a Top Gun Maverick? And I would say no, even though Top Gun Maverick overall, I like it, but every year, my incredible love of it kind of dips down a little bit to the point where I go from, I really enjoy this movie, to, it's good, it's really good, but this is still a really fun film overall. One of the better remakes I've seen in recent memory, and it's a film that takes chances with it. It doesn't just do the same story we've seen done to death before so many times. It does do more with it than most remakes do, and I really enjoyed that for that. I thought the casting overall was really good. I thought Edgar Wright did a good job with the writing and the direction of this. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was a ton of fun. I can't recommend this one enough. Thumbs up on The Running Man. I think it's a very, very good film. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Predator, Badlands, and The Running Man. Of course, let me know your thoughts down below. Tell me what you think of this. And of course, next week's one of the big holiday releases of the year. Not even one of the big holiday releases, one of the big releases of the year, Wicked for Good, the follow-up, of course, to last year's big hit, Wicked. I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. I like the first one a lot. I just talked about Oz the Great and Powerful on time about the movie, so I'm ready, man. I'm ready to head back into the world of Oz to see this conclusion, so I can't wait to check it out. It comes out next week. We'll have a review for it here, of course, on this show, so... And hopefully we'll get back to the regular format, because we are heading into a holiday season that includes not only that, but we also got Zootopia 2 coming up. We've got Avatar, Fire and Ash, the SpongeBob movie, The Housemaid. Lots of films I'm definitely looking forward to checking out. And of course, we wrap our year up with the best and worst movies of the year. So, hard to believe, we're already at the end of 2025 already. It's been that kind of a year, so it just goes by so fast, But thank you so much for joining me on this. Check out my last video I did, which I believe was the worst... It was either the worst reboots or the worst remakes of the last 20 years. Let me check. This is how you know I've been away for a while now. Even though it's been 2 weeks, I completely forgot what I did the last episode. It was the worst sequels of the last 20 years. So, yeah, that's what you can go ahead and check out in the corner there. Check out some of the other episodes, too, where I did cover the worst reboots and remakes of the last 20 years. So, there's that, too, but... with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for understanding the situation of waiting so long. I'm trying to get back to a weekly schedule here with this, so please bear with me. But if you like this and want to see more videos like it, hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button. And I will see you guys next week for my review of Wicked for Good. So until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.